All right. Welcome back, family. We're going to have some fun today talking about the Voting Rights Act. Oh, we're going to have some fun with this because a number of you, you're going to be in your feelings about this one. Literally. A number of you might even find yourself dealing with cognitive dissonance. Thank you for coming into the live. Oh, but we're going to have some fun, with this one because you all are crying about another privilege that they're taking away. Listen to what I said, another privilege. But you classified mistakenly, in error, as a right, which openly displays the ignorance, of the people. Already, we got somebody coming up, that wants to communicate. I think I hit accept, or maybe they changed their mind. I'm not sure. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself? What you want to add to the conversation?
Yes, I think America should stop acting like a police agent for across the whole world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dealing with regime change in other countries, they should stick to their own policy, their own government, their own interest. That is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Are you agree?
That's a pretty good observation right there. Which country are you in right now?
I'm from West Europe.
Oh, you're in Western Europe. Okay.
Yes.
So I won't task you. I won't task you with the question of the voting right, but I appreciate your comment as it pertains to the U.S. acting as the police and how they need to maintain their own backyard.
Yes.
We're going to
Because
touch on some of that as well, but I need to deal with a number of individuals that are here in the U.S. that have put a lot of confidence in a concept called, the Voting Rights Act, and right now it seems as if, they're getting their feelings hurt. So I want to point out the fact that this is not the first time in the concept of the U.S. history where they removed the air quote black recipients from the government. This will not be the first time. Okay. So they're marching or they're in process or they're making their way to do it again. While you all keep talking about 4 more years and voting for this and voting for that. And now you're mad because they're stripping your voting rights away. Well, that's a problem. Because if it was a right, they couldn't strip it. See, this is the ignorance that a number of us have been made to accept within our understanding around the political sphere involving their institutions. This is how they've trained people to be ignorant and to repeat ignorance. And even when you tell somebody the truth, they'll still look at you and say, no, it's gotta be a right. Our ancestors died so we could have the right to vote. Stop telling that lie. Our ancestors didn't die for you to have no right to vote. These folks gave you a privilege to vote. Our ancestors were seeking liberation. Folks bought into assimilation and then total integration. And now you have a glorified right, which is nothing more than a privilege. And you mad because you don't understand what's happening. And you're using wrong terminology. But they're trying to show you how much democracy is in your favor. As you're talking about, yeah, America going around the world and going to liberate everybody else. And right here, they stripping you naked. This is their democracy. This is their system. The Voting Rights Act. It's a privilege. You know what that means? The one in control can grant it just as they granted it when they did. And now they want to take it away. They have the right to take it away. Shut your mouth. If you don't like it, move. Oh, and I'm not talking about leave the country. When I say move, I mean stop trying to govern their business, govern your own. Oh, you forgot? Self-determination, reclaiming autonomy. Oh, you want to keep supporting the oppressor. Oh, you can't be successful without the oppressor. Oh, you got to be in their system in order to make things work. Well, they're showing you how much they care about you in their system. Voting rights. Hey, thank you all for coming into the live. I just say, share the live, repost the live, because there's a lot of fools out here still trying to convince folks to go vote, go register to vote. You don't get the message. Let's just talk frankly here for a second. If it was a right, you all, they couldn't give it to you. They couldn't take it away. I'm going to read a short definition for you based on what an unalienable right is, because a number of you are just confused. And you allow technical term placement to disrupt your understanding. Civil rights, those are not rights. That's a privilege. The voting right, that's not a right. That's a privilege. Just because it have right on the end, oh, you've been going for ages and generations talking about a right this, a right that, it's a privilege. A glorified right from that sense, but it's not a right. So let me read this definition for you based on what a right is, so you can stop telling these lies and hopefully you can pivot and come to understand what it means to govern your own business and stop trying to support European superiority, thinking you're going to go up into their system, the one that they created within democracy. They'll never give you a controlling seat within their house. It ain't never going to happen. And that's what you see them doing right now. They're restructuring, reorganizing to make sure you never get control while you're talking about 4 more years. Vote this one out and vote that one in. Y'all crazy as hell. But it's not your fault, though. It's all a part of your indoctrination, your miseducation, right? But here is the definition for unalienable rights so that you can come to understand you've been tricked. Once again, they just bought themselves some time. They knew when they gave a concept of a Voting Rights Act that it was just for a matter of time. They understood that. That's why it was never made an amendment to anything, but a part of their tradition, a part of their policy by way of a privilege. But here's the definition for the unalienable right, coming out of the 6th edition of a book called Black's Law. Unalienable, incapable of being alienated. That is sold and transferred. That's Black's Law Dictionary. You can't surrender, sell, or transfer unalienable rights, period. They can't give them to you. They can't take them away. Look at this, Miranda. This is Miranda talking about rights. See, if it was a right, as you keep talking about a voting right, and we got the right to vote, you don't have no damn right to vote. They gave you a privilege to vote. And if they want to take that privilege away from you, it's their right to take it away because they gave you the privilege in the first place. Miseducated. Miranda. Y'all familiar with Miranda? This is in case law. Miranda. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved. Where rights secured, right, now we're talking about a right, not a privilege. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved. If this voting right was a right, it would be secured by the Constitution, but it's not. And y'all just been lying to the people and, just parakeeting and repeating things that you've heard over your miseducation, indoctrination, with all your wonderful degrees and your prestige, and you just trick NEGRO. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking. Oh, that you're gonna act like I just didn't say that, or it's not already adjudicated. If it was a right, they can make no rule. There could be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate. So, you never had a right to vote, and you've been lying all these years talking about our ancestors gave their life so we could have a right to vote. Misleading people. Pushing people more into helping you to continue supporting the oppression, upholding European superiority within their system. Vote, vote, vote. The black vote matter. Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming into the live. Oh, y'all don't have to be afraid to come up and talk about your voting right and how you've been misled, or you can come up and speak in ignorance even more and try to say how it's not true and we just need to vote 4 more years. Listen, this system of democracy, they created it for them. They're always going to be in control of this democracy. Europeans, the oppressor. They've let you play with them for a short period in time. They don't want to play with you no more. But the beautiful thing about the U.S. is it's okay. We're in a unique position because they're here under a right of a treaty. And Manifest Destiny, they took it too far with that. They're outside the scope of their bound, but let me not get all, into that right there. Let me kind of stick more to the point of their democracy, because you all seem to think you can get in and you can vote. Well, look at what they're doing to the concept of your vote while you've even been telling people your vote matters. It does matter. Matters to who? To your vain perception? Let's just be real, you all, for once. All of this is placating to the continuation of the oppression centered around maintaining European superiority. I know you don't like to hear it. I know you don't want to accept it because you want people to go and vote. Oh, you want people, we should be mad because they're taking our right. Hell no, don't be mad. Move out the way. Let them have their crap. Let them manage their own business. Let them fall on their own face. You know what? Take our genius and come to understand what it means to deal with self-determination, reclaiming autonomy. Let's deal with liberation and manage and govern our own affairs. Y'all don't want to talk about that. Because you got to have the oppressor in your business. It won't be successful unless the European can be a part of it, or we're a part of something they're doing. Y'all crazy as hell. And that's just what it is. Who we got that wants to come up? Oh, Zafran, I ain't fooling with you. Time. Does Time want to come up? All right, let's see. All right, welcome to the live. What you want to add to the conversation? All right, who is this? All right, CC. Going once, CC, going twice. CC, if you're talking, you're on mute. I can't hear you. I'm going to put you back in the audience. If you want to come up, you can come back up. All right. So, this is one of those scenarios where you've been played. And now you're trying to get people to be upset because they want to take their privilege back. You all, it don't work like that. If they want to take their privilege back, nobody can stop them. That's what a privilege is all about. That's what distinguishes it from an actual right. You should be happy because they've made you aware now that you don't have a right. Welcome to the live. What you want to add to the conversation? All right. What you want to add to the conversation? Down. Folks must be moving around and hitting buttons or something. I don't know what's going on. Okay. All right. Welcome to the live. What you want to add to the conversation, Austin?
I support Trump.
Good.
Do you?
Good. No, I don't support Trump.
Okay. Why?
I mean, I don't have to support Trump. There's nothing for
Okay.
me to support. I mean, I'm up here talking, about voting rights. I don't
Okay.
support Trump. But if you support Trump, that's good.
So about voting rights, I think we should, renew the Voting Rights Act.
Oh man, please. All that's going to do is continue to further supporting the oppression and/or European superiority. I mean, it's a privilege. It's not even a right. But I do thank you for coming up, Austin, and sharing your thoughts. Shantae, welcome back, Shantae. What you want to add to the conversation?
Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry. I'm here drinking some red pea soup. But I just wanted to ask Austin, why does he still support Trump, given the fact that Trump said, and I quote, "Forget about the Epstein files." The fact that he denied being in the files, and then with the redacted files that they released, and also the unredacted ones that France released, he's in there. And it's egregious what he was doing to young girls. So I think that anybody who still supports Trump is also a child lover, in my opinion, in my very, very educated opinion. It's one thing to stand for, God and righteousness. But when the devil shows himself, you got to believe him for who he is. He's shown himself. He's shown us that he is a pawn to BB. He's on the files. They have so much dirt on him because the Iranians are also saying that his son, Donald Trump Jr., is allegedly in the files, and he likes them very, very young. So I don't see how anybody can still support him. Yes, Obama. I don't support Obama either. They're all the same. I agree with the host. It doesn't get better with any one of them. You're just voting for the same thing in a different fashion, a different style. None of them have done anything to better the people.
So I'm also pointing out the fact that we're using terminology called voting right, and it's not a right at all. It's actually a privilege, and that privilege means they can give it, they can take it away, and folks are mad because they haven't understood exactly what that applies to and how they've been duped, as Malcolm X would say, hoodwinked. So
Exactly.
for that reason, I'm just trying to give the understanding that you shouldn't be mad that they're taking their voting right away or their privilege away from you. And this is not the first time that, air quote, black folks have been removed from the governmental structure. And they're now just positioning themselves to do, what they've wanted to do all along, which is have an all-white America. Maintain, govern, and control for them, by them, as they said, one heritage, one land, one people. And this was on the Department of Labor website. So I said, who you think the one heritage, the one people, and the one land is referring to? So they're now just bold, with the moves and the things that they're doing. And I just think it's unfortunate. You got black folks that's mad, running around here telling lies, talking about they're taking our rights away. And I'm telling you, it was never a right. If it was a right, they couldn't take it away. Let's see who we got.
Exactly.
Mimi Camp, what you want to add to the conversation, Mimi Camp?
I didn't even know this existed. This is what saved our family. The application was fast and simple.
Mimi Camp, what you want to add to the conversation? Oh, okay. That was by accident. All right. So I want to thank you all for coming into the live. I just say tap the screen. It don't cost nothing, right? Share the live, repost the live. I'm just trying to talk about voting rights and come to understand, just why you all upset, that they no longer want to play with you. They don't want you in their business anymore. They don't want you a part of their democracy. And you're upset outside of understanding a need or fact to govern your own affairs. And I think it's unfortunate a number of you feel like it can't be done unless the oppressor is in our business. But again, we're in a unique position in America because they're here under treaty, right? So we can do two things as you talk about a concept of a dual state per se, air quote, once again, right? But we have a right to self-determination as well, you all. We have a right to reclaim autonomy because we are a people still being oppressed and or governed by another people. They're here by treaty. So let them have their position and or play. Let them govern their own stuff, take our genius, our understanding, and erect our own system of governance or democracy or Republican form of government. We can do these things, but you know what? For a number of you, that's too much work, and you can get paid working for the oppressor, right? Anything else you wanted to add, Shante?
Yes, brother, I didn't want to interrupt you. This is Jacob's trouble. Everything that's coming, as you know, you're a spiritual man. I'm a Benjamite myself. You as a Judean or, from the tribe of Judah, you know these things. This is Jacob's trouble. So these things are going to come to pass where we are at, excuse me, ostracized, villainized, criminalized, and shoved into the unpleasant part of town, which we already are, but it's just going to worsen. But it's sad when people fail to realize what is happening, and that's the most painful part, because when you are at the stage that you're in right now, what I'm talking about. It's like it makes you so frustrated, so depressed, so angry, because you're like, why can't everybody else see it? But this is prophecy being fulfilled. And as I said prior in your life, I'm just looking to the events and watching the news and waiting for that time. But thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Shante. So those are some very good words that are spoken, there as it pertains to righteousness, as it pertains to who a people are. And I understand it and I know it very well. And I also have to speak to the fact that everybody is not everybody. Okay. And in the scope of realizing, all these mixed multitude of people that are out here, being able to speak to the fact that you all are pushing, you all are fighting, you all are scrapping to maintain European superiority, and it's laughable. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they do it in your face, and you continue trying to work with these crooks and criminals. The Voting Right Act has been exposed before your very eyes, and you still don't want to accept the truth. You want to cry because the oppressor is trying to cut you off. Leave him alone. He's only going to allow you to benefit if he can oppress you. As we've witnessed, I mean, here in America, it's unfortunate, but there are some of the richest slaves in the world right here in the US. And because you benefit, they give you gifts. You don't want the oppression to end. It's a different type of way of selling your soul. But a number of you don't see it that way. But I want to thank you for coming into the live. I say tap the screen. It doesn't cost you anything. Just tap the screen. Share the live. Repost the live. A little short conversation about voting rights. Anybody want to come up and defend voting rights? Anybody want to argue that it's not a privilege, that, oh, it is an actual right and the ancestors died for us to have this right? The ancestors were looking for us to have liberation. Some folks settled on civil rights, another privilege. Civil rights put you in a position, one, through assimilation and then through total integration. Integration to where you're not in control of anything, but you're ultimately being controlled. All right, who we got on the stage? What you want to add to the conversation? All right. D Nice going once. D Nice. If you're talking D Nice, I can't hear you. All right, I'm gonna put you down. If you want to come back up, you can come back up, D Nice. All right. So, looking at the fact that they don't want to fool with you no more, and y'all mad because they've propped you up all these generations and have made some of the richest slaves in the world. You all really thought you were a part of their process. You went out and you start campaigning how black votes matter. Matter to who? Not to the ones that things do matter for, not to them. This is their democracy. Say it ain't. Just say it ain't. They never created this to be a multifaceted nothing. And they're letting you know it. As they're repositioning, reconditioning, rebuilding, overhauling their system without you included. So what you gonna do? Keep crying, keep complaining? Leave them alone. Is that so hard to do? Let's see. Welcome to the conversation. What you want to add to the welcome to the live? What you want to add to the
Okay, how you doing today, brother? How you feeling?
Good. Good.
Okay, yeah, this is the big bad calling from Cleveland, Ohio. I think it's terrible for what happened to the Voting Rights Act. I grew up in the time of the Black Panthers, and I had family members of mine that were in the Black Panther Party, and family members of mine who did sit-ins. And I tell you, this is terrible what I see, what's going on. I warned black people, I warned black folks that when this happened, I said, you need to get out there and vote. Because if you don't get out there and vote, this is what is going to happen. Donald Trump has destroyed and has ruined this country. He has destroyed and ruined it. And instead of us as black people fighting each other, we need to start coming together now. Because that's what they want us to do. Seeing us fight each other for them is better than watching streaming or UFC fights. So we got to get together. We got to organize. You know what I mean? Or we're all gonna be gone. What Trump and his MAGA fucks want to continue to do is to take this country back to the time of McCarthyism, to leave it to Beaver and all that other bullshit and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And these old house Negroes can't understand to say that. You understand? You feel me, bro?
Okay, Big Bad Chief, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is the Voting Rights Act, is it a right?
Is it all right? Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, I'm glad you say you think so, because I would like to express to you it's not a right. Just because it say voting right, that word right doesn't make it a right. It's actually a privilege. Can I explain to you how it's a privilege?
Go ahead.
All right. If it was a right, an unalienable right says they don't give it, they don't take it away. And I just read the definition for what a right is. But when it's a privilege, according to law, it means they can provide it to you, they can take it away. So they use fancy terminology such as civil right, such as voting right, but these are not actual rights. These are privileges that they give to you for a borrowed amount of time. When they're ready to take it away, they have a right based on their authority within their system. They can take it away. So,
Good information. So it seems to remind me of what you're saying to me. I agree with you on some things here, but it seems to mind of what you were basically saying is it's like going back to the time of Reconstruction and the Freedmen's Bureau. You know what I mean? That 40 acres of their mule stuff. We give that as a privilege, as a thing to you. So I think I know where you're coming from with this. And like I said, I agree with you on some things here. But I'm just basically saying because I had family that grew up. I was born up in the North. I'm a Yank. You know what I mean? I didn't experience the segregation that my parents did. My parents, they picked cotton down in the South, and I'd be damned if I'm picking any cotton. And some of my brothers and sisters are born up here. But I'm just basically saying that with Donald Trump, I mean, what you said was some good terminology. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not putting you down. And what you said was some good terminology. And it didn't make me think like that before. So when I'm done talking with you, this is something for me to think about. Okay? So I'm with you. I'm with you on this. So I'm thinking about, I don't agree on everything, but I respect you. But I was just angry when I saw that because we worked so hard. And I got family members. Max, how old are you, man?
60.
Okay, me and you are the same age. We're the same age. Same age. So we grew up. We're Gen X. So we're the same. We grew up the same way. So I'm pretty sure you have family members that talked about civil rights stuff. Correct.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, my sister, God rest her soul. You heard of the Kent State riots, didn't you?
Yes.
My sister was there at the Kent State riots in 1970, and she saw all that stuff there at the riots at Kent State. And so I come from a family of knowledge of what's going on. I don't like the way the world is going today. I think that we need to get out and vote. And I don't like these house Negroes like Clarence Thomas and stuff that sit around. Yes, our boss. Yes, sitting on the old master's porch and want to do that type of mess. We got to go. We got to fight back. And I'm going to tell you this, brother. I ain't going back. I ain't giving up my seat for no white woman. I ain't going to no separate and drinking fountains. I ain't going out there picking no damn cotton. You're not going to tell me where I can and where I can't sit.
Okay, hold on, Big Bad Chef. Hold on. I got somebody else that just came up real quick. Ronnie Smith, what you want to add to the conversation? Ronnie Smith going once. You're on mute if you're talking. Ronnie Smith going twice. All right, Ronnie Smith going 3 times. I'm going to put you back in the audience. I did want to say this, Big Bad Chef, real quick, as far as the concept of the voting and how they gave us this privilege and it was for borrowed time. I did want to say this. Our ancestors really wanted us to have liberation. They were not looking for us to assimilate and or to be integrated. So here we are today, still in a unique position and or place centered around unalienable rights, where we can have self-determination, where we can have or reclaim our autonomy. It's as if we've forgotten we are a people being governed by another people. It's as if we've forgotten they created this system of democracy for themselves, and we'll never have a controlling position within their democracy. So we do have an advantage in this day and time where we can actually govern our own affairs. But it's as if because they haven't told us we can do that. We feel as if we got to keep jockeying and trying to prop them up within their system, where in the end, all we're doing is maintaining European superiority.
Right, right. Yeah, that's something. That's something. Basically to look at. I understand. I feel you on what you're basically saying. You know, because Trump has totally ruined this country. But my man, I'm gonna get ready to bounce off here. But it was good talking with you. And I'm
Absolutely.
gonna say this here. I'm gonna say fuck Trump today, fuck Trump tomorrow, and fuck Trump forever. That's all I got to say. And fuck Clarence Thomas. That's all I got to say. Look here, brother. You be cool. Hey, brother, man, watch out for these mega bastards that gonna come in here and try you. They might even call you an N-word.
It's all right. It's
Trust me,
all
man. They
right.
gonna come on here. These dumb, low life, no expectation white crackers. They're gonna come in here and they're gonna
Oh,
talk. They're gonna talk some
wait,
crap to you.
wait.
Be careful.
Hold it.
Be careful.
You can't go that far. You can't go that far, Big Bad Chef. They're gonna send me all kind of violations and stuff like
TikTok.
that.
I love TikTok. I love TikTok.
All right, go ahead, Noah.
Okay, that's to help keep me. I knew that was coming, sir. I knew it was coming. When I heard that talk he was talking about, when people start asking you questions, and well, first of all, thank you for being on here. You are saying something that cannot be denied and it cannot be hidden anymore. And I thank you for coming on here, because whenever you get to the point of something where somebody gives you something and tell you you can use it, when I say you can use it, it's not liberty. That makes you under their foot. And it doesn't make any difference if it's me that's doing it, and it don't make any difference if it's me that appending myself to it. If I accept that you, as my neighbor, can be pushed under, then I accept that I am tied to the one who's pushing you under. So if you're going to tie yourself to that and then say, well, I'm being treated well, then what you're saying is I'm a part of the problem. And so I listen before I speak. That's one of the things that I tell my children. Listen before you speak, but don't just listen to speak. Listen, and when you hear something that tells you information rather than stokes your ire, then when you do that, you are playing into your enemy's camp. He wants you mad. He wants you not thinking. They want you to act on reflexes rather than that. But I thank you for coming up. And just what you're saying is just, I equate this to a driver's license. If you have a driving license, it's a privilege. It's not a right to drive in any state. You get a license, and if you get that license and you accidentally roll past a stop sign, and the officer stops you, and he asks for your driver's license and your insurance. In other words, give me your privilege card that I say you must have in order to do this. You're not at liberty. And that word autonomy seems to frighten every person who wants you to be under their foot. That word, you said that word autonomy. And when you say that, you are, sir, you are actually putting fear into people's heart about you having your liberty. Now, I'm going to leave that right there, and I'm going to listen to you some more. And thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Stephen, and then we're gonna go to Michael. Stephen, Michael, and then we're gonna come up to the Big D.
Good
Steve.
afternoon. It's morning for me. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Okay, good morning, Stephen. What you want to add to the conversation?
I want to know what your plan is, man. You see everything that's happening. What's your plan?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you my plan, Stephen. What you want to add to the conversation?
Well, I want to come back to the Democrat Party.
Well, you go right ahead, Stephen. Enjoy
Well,
yourself at the Democrat Party. You just have a good old time. Is that all you got, Stephen? Because it sounds like you fishing.
fishing for what?
Hell if I know.
Yeah,
You
why don't you? Yeah,
really adding nothing to the conversation just yet. So you know what you want me to do, Michael?
Well, I guess the last guy that was talking, he said a bunch of different things, but I didn't really grasp the point out of it. Well, what is it that what's wrong with what's going on with the Voting Rights Act? You
Oh,
don't.
well. Let me ask you this then, Stephen.
Uh huh.
Is the Voting Rights Act, is it a right?
Well, I go by what the Supreme Court says. They're the ones that.
That's not what I
So
asked you. I asked you, is it a right? Is the Voting Rights Act, is it a right? That's just a simple yes or
yeah,
no.
yeah, of course, of course.
Okay. So let me explain to you. It's not a right, Stephen. Just because it has right on the end of it doesn't classify it as a right. It's like a civil right, Stephen. A civil right is not an unalienable right. A civil right is a privilege. A voting right is a privilege. These things mean somebody gave it to you, means somebody can take it away. When it's
Correct.
an unalienable right, Stephen, I'll read the definition for you so that you can be clear. Unalienable right. This is what it says. It's incapable of being alienated, that is, sold or transferred. You cannot surrender, sell, or transfer unalienable rights. Now, listen to this, Stephen, coming from the Miranda case, meaning this has already been adjudicated. It said where rights secured by the Constitution are involved. This is talking about a right, not a privilege. It says there can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. So, if what you're saying is true about the Voting Rights Act being a right, they wouldn't be able to pass a law, to diminish it. They wouldn't be able to take it away. They would not have given it to a people for a particular purpose, and or place. So I can appreciate you, coming up and giving your insight. But I realize people don't understand what's happening today based on terminology, and we're just going around off of what we think and what we feel. But I love to use evidence-based academic research, Stephen.
Well,
So that way
I
we know
like to use
exactly what we're dealing with.
I like to use objectional facts like the law.
Law?
Yeah.
What law, Stephen?
Well, the laws that govern our people.
What law? What,
You know,
Stephen?
like this. Here, I can give
Wait.
you an example of what you're talking about.
Well,
Okay.
no, let me ask you a question, Stephen. Are you talking about statutes?
Oh, it depends on which state law, federal law, which one?
I'm just asking, when you're talking about law, are you talking about statutes?
Statutes. Well, actually, I'm talking about this. The Supreme Court's the final decider of what's the law. So
Okay.
that's what I like
Steve,
about what's happening right now. Is that stuff's finally getting taken before the courts and pushed because we don't care what political party is going to suffer from whatever it is, because Trump's not even going to be in office in 2 years.
yeah.
So
Stephen,
that
I realize you're not speaking.
So you're not
from-
able to talk to me about this? You're
No,
stuck in the
what I'm
past?
saying is I realize you're not speaking from the standpoint of evidence-based academic research. You're
Well,
speaking from what you
the
think of what
Supreme
you
Court,
feel.
the Supreme Court invalidates all of those things that you just said.
No, it does not,
It
Stephen.
absolutely does, because it's irrelevant, because the ruling that the court makes will be used in the next cases as a reference for the next
All the
lawsuit.
ruling did
So
was
you don't understand what standing is and that type of stuff?
Hey, Stephen.
I got what you're saying. I don't want to embarrass you, bro. You have a good day.
Stephen, all the ruling did was verify that it's a privilege because they're taking it away. It verifies that it's not a right, Stephen. That's what it verified. So I want to explain this for you all that, just heard what Stephen was talking about, as I was trying to get him to verify what law is he talking about, because there are aspects of law in the United States. You're functioning off of policy and procedure, and you call that law. And these are the traditions that they operate off. For example, all of the statutes that are written within the states, these are centered around policy and procedure. And it's functioned under what they call the presumption of law. That's the basis of the law in the United States. So I want to read something to you, because people like Stephen, they just go on information based on face value. But we have to dig a little deeper to understand what we're dealing with when it comes to this system of legal versus lawful, because they have a legal system that you're into. That's totally different than something that's considered lawful. But we don't really go that deep though, right? I mean, that's not something we focus on. We just listen to what Supreme Court justice say, or what the senator says, or what the House of Representatives say, or what the Attorney General say, and we just take it at face value. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll come to understand what you call law is nothing but a tradition centered around policies and procedures. Let me explain this. As I said, they deal with it off of something called the presumption of law. That's what they deal with. So here, a presumption is an a presumption is an a presumption is an inference or an assumption of fact accepted as true without proof, often based on probability or law. So when they do these statutes, it's based on the possibility of a law. Now pay attention. It plays a crucial role in law by shifting the burden of proof. I talked about this last night. So if you're going to talk about law this, law that, you need to understand when they write these statutes, they're writing the statutes and they shift the burden of proof. I don't want to be talking over anybody's head, right now, because we were speaking about privileges, okay? But tied into what Stephen was trying to say, he liked the laws and the way the laws are written. And I'm telling you, even there, they're playing games with you. Because even there, they shift the burden of proof with the statutes. I know y'all think I'm making this up. Listen to this. A legal presumption is the rule of law requiring a court to assume a fact true based on established law, logic, initial facts. Until that assumption is disproven, meaning rebutted by preponderance of evidence. So they're writing statutes. Nobody's checking it. They're waiting for you to come and say, this statute is unconstitutional. You're under the perception that the Supreme Court at this point is telling you whether it's this or whether it's that, or the Attorney General is telling you this, telling you that. No, the Supreme Court is dealing with it based on what comes in front of them. The Attorney General, you all, they not checking nothing. So Stephen is under the impression that these guys are writing laws that are to be beneficial to the public and or people at large. Well, let me read this to you real quick, and then we can open the stage back up. But let me read this real quick to you about the Attorney General's office. Dealing with what I said, these laws in the United States are written based on the law of assumption, the power of assumption. That's how they write the laws. They shift the burden of proof. So now listen to the Attorney General. Hopefully you can understand. The power of the state to assume, consistent with the established policy of this office. Which office are we talking about, you all? The Attorney General. That goes across the board, Stephen, if you're out there, if you're still listening. That goes across the board, fed, state, it don't matter. Consistent with the established policy of this office, we have assumed, there go that word again, that the pertinent statutes, talking about all the laws that you say they're writing, they've assumed the pertinent statutes are constitutional. They assume it. You know what that means? They're not checking it. So when you talk about these laws being this or being that, nobody's checking it. When it goes in front of the Supreme Court, it's not going in front of the Supreme Court for the standpoint of the rebuttal. They're looking at how they can continue to assert the law to benefit their interests. Here, not done. He says, accordingly, we have not inquired into possible constitutional objections. Who's checking it, y'all? Ain't nobody checking it. It says our function has been simply to construe these statutes as written. Y'all don't think that's a problem? Well, Stephen just came up here and tried to give, all faith, into the Supreme Court, all faith into the laws that are being written when nobody's checking these statutes. They're putting them out on a presumption. They're shifting the burden, meaning we're going to write all these crazy ass laws we want to benefit our interests, to benefit our industry, to benefit our interests. And if you all don't understand how to rebuttal it, if you don't know how to refute it, then we're going to keep running it till the wheels fall off. This is the game that they're playing. So when you talk about a Voting Rights Act, that's a part of the game that they play. They've made you feel as if you're a part of their operation A. And as long as you're willing to continue to prop them up within their European superiority, you good to go. But the moment you think you getting ready to have some degree of freedom or liberation in their house, in their system, you gotta go. And I'm not mad at them. I hope they kick all of you out. I hope they embarrass each and every one of you. I hope they throw you out on your face. So then you realize the need to fend for yourself within the establishment of your own governing body. It can be done. They don't want you in their body. They're telling you that. Why do you keep fighting to maintain European superiority, the oppression? Let them go. You know, the Bible says, let my people go with hell. And I'm telling you, let them go. All right, let's see. Y'all done got me fired up in here. But the Voting Rights Act, you all, it's not a right. Most people think it is a right. And when you tell them it's not a right, they get pissed off. When you show them it's a privilege, it was on borrowed time, they get pissed off. Then they start searching for, what is it called? The bias, confirmation bias, looking for things that's going, like Stephen. Stephen was stuck on confirmation bias. It's like looking for things that are going to continue to support the foolishness he's talking about, because he hadn't taken time to really study and come to understand how the body of laws actually come into position and or play. On the federal side, on the state side, it doesn't matter. It's all under the presumption. And they're not checking for the constitutionality, because under the presumption, guess what they do? They shift the burden of proof. I just read it to you. Oh, but don't wait for their experts and their professionals to tell it to you. It's not going to happen. So, I want to thank you all for coming into the live. I just say tap the screen. It don't cost nothing. Show that you support the live by tapping the screen. Repost the live. Share the live. You can do that. All right. Looking at, I've been going now, I guess, for about an hour. And I really did just want to come on and have a conversation. Noah, did you want to add anything else to the conversation here?
Yes, I would like to add to it. And the thing that I would like to add to it is just this. There's a great illustration of how you have to do to really challenge when the law is thrust upon you and you think you have no other way. And I'll give you an example that did go before the Supreme Court, and they had no other choice but to say, you know, sir, you're right. And this thing was called Gideon versus Wainwright, I believe, but it was done in Panama City. It was the right to have an attorney, and it was by Clarence Earl Gideon. And the reason I know so much about it is because I lived in Panama City, and on 6th Street, right where this thing took place, before I was born. And I read about this thing, and that's what got me interested in saying, hey, I need to know more than just what a police stop me and say. I need to know what I shouldn't say. I need to know how far can you go with me before the rights that you say are inalienable, before you can use them. And so this was a white man, and they put him in jail and in prison, and he wrote a handwritten letter, and the Supreme Court did accept it. And I do believe it had a lot to do with him being white. And that's where you got the idea, the dictum from the Supreme Court, that you must have right to an attorney. So if people would look that up and see how that worked, that might show them that this is a thing that you have to challenge. And if you get to the point where they say you don't have a right to challenge it, then what they're saying is that you don't have that right. And so therefore it's all the time been a privilege to you, and they take it away. And so that's why I would hope that people will understand the difference. And the example I put forth was the driver's license. If anybody in any state could say, is my right, is this a right that I have to drive? Or is it a privilege that it can be taken away? And I call it the 13th Amendment privilege, because that's where they go back into, you can be in shadow, you can be forced labor, just because you rode on the wrong side of the road for 5 miles. You see, so now I'll leave that at that, because this conversation is much deeper than what we can get into here. But you are to the point, and that's what matters. You've seen them digging the hole, and you know what they're trying to do. And thank you, sir. I'll leave it at that. And thank you again.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to add this with respect to what Noah is saying, as I'm telling you all what they deal with. It's a presumption of law by way of statutes. Statutes are centered around supporting policies and procedures. You all are confused with respect to what law truly is, because the terminology of law has now been used within a sense of a legal system. And it's just conflated now. I mean, we just try to use it all willy-nilly and or interchangeably, and it's okay, but let's understand that there is a difference. So when we talk about law as it pertains to statutes, this is all centered around maintaining policies and procedures, which then ties into a tradition that someone may have. So now I want to share with you something. And again, I'm dealing with evidence-based academic research. I'm showing you all what's written, because they deal with the presumption of law. And when they're writing the statutes, they're telling you nobody's checking the statute to see if it's above board and constitutional. They're accepting it on its face for what it is. They say they shift the burden of proof. So the question would have to be, who have they shifted the burden of proof to? It's you. It's the people. And if you don't say anything, if you don't understand how to rebuttal within what that statute is presenting based on a policy or procedure, then they say it's law. It needs to be enforced. So now let me read this to you right here, because there's a difference from the standpoint of civil right infractions, human right violations, and what a constitutional violation is. And as we're talking about rights and laws, understanding the Voting Right Act was never a right but a privilege, similar to a statute. Okay, here it says, if a branch, department, or agency of the government engages in unconstitutional activity, okay, unconstitutional activity, very specific. Okay, it says it can be taken to court and forced to change its policies or practices, not laws, policies or practices. If a branch, department, or agency of the government engages in unconstitutional activity. See, these folks are dealing with policies, procedures, and you all call that law. But these are things that they factored based on their interest in how they're going to govern the way they want to do things. So they've hired very intelligent people to write these 1,000-page statutes, and they pass them through the legislature and through the Senate, and they position it in front of the people, and you think it's law. But it's a law under a presumption that until it's vetted based on constitutionality, meaning somebody rebut it, it's going to stay in force and effect. They're not going to challenge it. The Attorney General told you that's not his job. He don't do that. He just accepts it on his face. But here they say, if a branch, department, or agency of the government engages in unconstitutional activity, it can be taken to court and forced to change its policy or practice, not law. It can be taken to court and forced to change its policies or practices. A court will state one way or the other whether a given policy or practice is constitutional or unconstitutional. So, this is just a slight difference for those of you that can follow along and understand what I'm saying. They deal with these statutes centered around a presumption in law. They shift the burden. They write the statutes. And at that point, they are not checking it to see whether it's constitutional or not. They shift that burden onto the people. The people are under the impression that the Attorney General is checking it, or that when the legislators or the senators had it within their office, they vetted it, and they're not. That's not what they do. They get the laws, they put the laws out, they pass it or they don't pass it. Who's checking for who's checking to see whether it's above board, meaning lawful? Nobody. Because under the presumption of law, they shift the burden. That part just keeps going over people's head. Because we've relied so much on them. And they just hadn't told you. When it comes to these statutes, which are not really law, the statutes are centered around maintaining the policy and or the procedure. You see what it said. If the agency, department, or government get caught in unconstitutional activity, it will be taken to court and forced to change the policy. But y'all want to make it be something more than that. Oh, okay, it's a glorified law. That's what it is. Like voting right is a glorified right, although it's a privilege. Kind of similar, to the same thing, right? So when you talk about these voting rights, I just want you to understand, it's not real from that sense. All right, who we got on the stage? Which one to add to the conversation? Which one to add to the conversation? All right, I'm going to have to put them down, I guess. All right, so I want to thank you all for coming into the live. Like I said, tap the screen. It don't cost nothing. That part is free. Show you support the live. Just tap the screen. Share the live. Repost the live. I know for a number of you, you may not understand what I'm saying. So if you're following along, if you're tracking with me, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you can put a 2 in the chat. I understand. I know for a number of you, this may be the first time you've really ever heard, this conversation before. All right. Oh, there go my brother Noah. Appreciate you. So looking at the concept, of the constitutional component centered around, this thing, I just want to make one more time to read to you all what the Attorney General, has to say. Let's see, where's the Attorney General? Right here. They said, consistent with the established policy of this office, because a number of you want to feel as if the Attorney General, they're checking these statutes to see if they're constitutional, above board, lawful. You all are under the impression that your senators and your representatives, that they're checking, these laws to make certain, they're constitutional. Half of the folks, what's up, CP? Half of the folks within the House of Representatives and the Senate, they don't know what the hell they be reading no way. They're getting pointers from the lobbyists or the people that are paying them to push the law through anyway, or the statute. Let me make sure I say it that way. To push the statute through. They don't know what half of this stuff is. But here, let's come to understand this. And then I go back to the one point centered around the presumption for you one more time. One more time. For the Attorney General's office, for those of you that are confused, thinking they are working on your behalf and in your favor, this is what he said. Consistent with the established policy of this office, we have assumed that the pertinent statutes are constitutional. They only assume it. They don't check it. They say, accordingly, we have not inquired into possible constitutional objections. They're not checking nothing. Our function has been simply to construe these statutes as written. Nobody's checking anything. And when you go back to the point of the presumption, let me read that to you real quick. A legal presumption is a rule of law requiring a court to assume a fact is true based on established law, logic, specific initial facts until that assumption is disproving, meaning rebutted. In other words, as long as they've been functioning off of that statute, off of that policy or that procedure, and they've been doing it well, they're going to keep ruling in that favor until somebody come along and rebut it and show how it's unconstitutional. But don't wait for them to do it. He says, until that assumption is disproven, rebutted by a preponderance of evidence. It says these presumptions streamline legal proceedings by shifting the burden of proof to the opposing party. Who do you think the opposing party is? Okay. And you can find that within the Wex Legal Dictionary. So I know for a number of you, this is heartbreaking because you want to believe in the lie. CP, if you're in the room and you wanted to come up, you're more than welcome, to come up. Because you all want to believe the lie. You want to feel as if they care enough for you that they want you to be a part of what they're doing. No, you're breaking your neck to keep trying to keep them alive and prop them up and make them richer and richer and have what you call generational wealth. Leave them alone. If they want their democracy, let them have it. If it were not for us, they would have fell on their face a long time ago. Let them have it. The Department of Labor, go to the website where it said one heritage, one people, one land. Who you think they talking about? One heritage, one people, one land. Who you think they talking about? You think they're factoring you into their democracy? No, they're making moves to do what they did in the 1800s. Eradicate all the black people out of their government. They want it all to themselves. Let them have it. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Why are you fighting to maintain oppression? Why? I know you don't see it that way because a number of you are still saying the black vote matters. And I'm just asking, who does it matter to? You can get out and you can go vote all you want. Remember this. This is their democracy. They created it. They'll never let you have the majority position within the seat of power. You'll never have the majority position in the seat of power in their democracy. It's not going to happen. It has never happened before. It's not going to happen. All right. I want to thank you all for coming into the live. As I say, tap the screen. It don't cost nothing. Let me see. Excuse me. Even on the, I'm not sure what you mean by all on native land. Okay. As far as maybe their operation being all on, native land, can go with you from that standpoint. But we have to realize the indigenous people have been put on reservations, and you need to understand the word reservation and how even they are restricted within a concept or scope of domestic sovereignty, limited, meaning they've assimilated, with respect to autonomy. So until we totally separate from these people, and we ain't got to go nowhere. I'm just telling you, because a lot of y'all feel like what they say, if you don't like it, just leave. No, you leave. If anything, you leave. And in fact, because we don't want to govern in your system or work with you, we don't have to go nowhere. We can stay right here. And we can erect our own body of government, and we can govern ourselves because we are a people. Have you forgotten that part? Well, I don't know why you all are so stuck on being under the rulership of another people that don't give a damn about you. They string you along all the way. Okay, Noah, you up there. I forgot. Did you want to add anything else to the conversation? My bad. Okay. All right. So I'll just say to you guys, share the live, repost the live. And I just really wanted to come on and test the waters and talk about the voting rights and see who would have anything logical to say. But it's obvious to me a lot of folks didn't even know it's not a real right. A lot of folks didn't know it's just a privilege. It's a glorified right, like civil rights. Civil rights are not rights. Civil rights, for a number of you, this may be your first time hearing it. Civil rights are a privilege. They gave it to you, they can take it away. And that's just how it goes. So whether the Supreme Court vote this way or vote that way, they're voting on policies and procedures. They're not voting on laws. They're voting on policies and procedures centered around a privilege that someone granted. And now they want to take it away. I don't know why y'all upset. You should be upset at the bum education you got. You should be upset. Let me stop. You really should just reconsider the points of indoctrination that you've gone through and just come to accept the fact that self-determination is real. Reclaiming autonomy is real. We are a people being governed by another people. That's real. And we need to come from under their governmentship or governorship, rulership. We need to separate ourselves from their business, manage our own business. The problem is y'all don't think y'all can be successful without the oppressor. I done said that already. And that's unfortunate. But yet we do everything to prop them up and to keep them in the seat of success. And they don't give a damn about us. So I think I've been on for about an hour and 30 minutes now. I'm gonna chop it off right here. I just wanted to test the waters based on the voting rights and see what you all may have to say. So far, nobody really had anything to say with respect to the concept. Well, I don't mean to say nobody had anything to say. What I want to say is those that truly believe in voting did not come up to defend the fact of why they vote or how the voting right is an actual right. And why the fact that they're taking it away, why is that a problem? Why are you all mad? Why are you doing videos about they taking our right? They're not taking the rights. If it was a right, they couldn't take it. And this is the ignorance that continues to permeate through these social media platforms and videos, and y'all just be eating it up. It's ignorance. And wanting to or trying to educate you, you're offended. It's sad. I'll leave it, I'll leave it right there. And I thank you all for coming, into the live. I may come back at some other point in time. We can talk about these voting rights. Maybe some of you will go and do a little research and come to understand it ain't a right at all. Civil rights. It's not a right at all. You need to be focused on your unalienable right. Unalienable right is different than a human right. It's different than a civil right. They created both human rights and civil rights. They created both of those. But the unalienable right, they know they can't create them. They know they can't give them. They know they can't take them. But I can use a human right to edify an unalienable right. But a civil right, man, I'm just telling you, y'all can throw that, in the trash. Okay? But nothing trumps your unalienable rights. Maybe you should study more into what your unalienable rights are so that you can understand whether something is truly constitutional or unconstitutional. Because that's what they're gauging it by. Unalienable rights, not civil rights, not human rights. And then you have to understand what you're calling law is nothing but policy and or procedure by way of statute. If it was lawful, centered around fundamentals and unalienable rights, then you would be talking about something within a constitutional law. But because it's within their legal system, you're dealing with statutes centered around the presumption of law. They've shifted the burden. This deals with their policies and their procedures. Don't wait for their experts and professionals to explain it to you like this. It don't benefit them because a number of them, they're being paid. It's their job to maintain the European superiority. That's what they get paid to do. And they're happy to tell you, I'm just doing my job. Let's see who this is right here. What you want to add to the conversation?
I gotta say, to hell with the Voting Rights Act. We're going old school again. President Abraham Lincoln tried to send you all back to Africa, right?
I have no idea what he tried to do.
Yeah, he did, but it failed.
But you realize a majority of people didn't come from Africa. You do realize that, right?
When we got here after the Revolutionary War, it was white man's land.
Okay.
We had the 13 colonies.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then you went into Manifest Destiny, right?
And then your own people sold you as slaves, and you did most of the, the mule work on the railroads, but we did all the designing and engineering.
Why you come up here telling these lies? You come up here just to troll.
No, I come to talk what's on my mind.
What you want for real? You just came up here to troll, and
that's what it's for, right?
You just came up here to get some attention or something. What's wrong with you?
I don't want attention, and I'm not trolling. I'm talking to you.
You don't make no sense to me.
I don't care about the people listening to this. What do they matter to me?
You don't make no sense to me. That's all.
And every inch of this earth is conquered land, by the way. Every inch. The biggest military wins. The smartest mindsets. White people always keep a strategic war room inside their minds everywhere they go.
I knew it was coming. All right. Thank you for your comments. I knew it was coming. But this is what we have to deal with, you all. European superiority. That's the world they live in, and I say we should let them have their democracy. I appreciate you for your comments, though. But we're going to be up out of here, at this point in time. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. I just say be safe, out there, wherever you're at. Thank you all for coming into the live. I'm out of here.